Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome back to episode 25 of our Ramadan series, Qur'anic Insights. Inshallah, the focus of this episode will be verse number 20 of Surah Al-Hadid, the 57th surah of the Holy Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. Know well that the worldly life, the dunyawi life, is only a play and an amusement, and a show of beauty in exchange of boastful claims between you, and a competition of increase in riches and children. All this is like a rain, the growth of which attracts the farmers, then it withers, and you see it turning yellow, then it becomes straw. And in the hereafter there is a severe punishment for the kuffar, and forgiveness from Allah, and Allah's pleasure, meaning for the believers and the righteous. The worldly life is nothing but a material of delusion. The ayat before this describe the conditions of the dwellers of paradise and the inhabitants of hell, which will materialize in the akhirah and will be permanent and eternal. Now, since the basic cause of being deprived of the bounties of the akhirah and being seized by divine punishment is the involvement of a person in the temporary pleasures of this dunya that tempt them to forget the akhirah, the verse we have just read describes the reality of the life of the dunya and that it is unreliable. It's a fleeting enjoyment. The ayah describes the involvement of insan, of human beings, that they cheerfully enjoy from the inception of life up to the end. The ayah summarizes these involvements and enjoyments in the same order that they occur. From infanthood to the end of their life, people lead their lives in the order of la'ib, play, lahu, amusement, zina, a show of beauty, tafakhurun bainakum, exchanging boastful claims, وَتَكَاثُرٌ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ, competing in the increase of wealth, money and children. The word la'ib refers to that play which has no purpose at all, like the movements of little children. Then the word lahu, amusement or pastime, is a game or a sport which is meant initially for amusement and enjoyment, but it may also serve another purpose, like physical exercise. This includes all the sports of older children, like playing with a ball games, swimming, archery, target shooting. Prophetic traditions have termed swimming and archery as good sports. The early stage of a person's life is spent in play and amusement. Then comes the stage of youth, when man wants to adorn his body, dress well, show their beauty, which is described in the ayah as zina, show of beauty. After that comes a stage in which man is tempted to prove his superiority over his mates and make boastful claims. Then, in old age, competition and rivalry sets in to amass wealth and multiply children. Now, on reflection, when man goes through a particular phase of life, he feels satisfied with it. But when that phase is over, then he realizes its absurdity and hollowness, and then he takes to the next phase of life. For example, a child is so fascinated with his phase of life and regards the stage of la'ib and play as the goal of life. If someone takes one of the toys of a child, he feels hurt and upset, like a grown man would be hurt and upset by someone seizing his valuable wealth and property. But when he grows up a little, he realizes that the things he thought to be the goal of his life were nothing but useless and absurd activities. The same thing happens in a person's youth when he's attracted by adornment, adored beauties. In old age, man gathers wealth and multiple children. Power, prestige, pride, position, they're all his investments to get dominance in life. The Quran reminds us that this phase of life will pass too. The next stage is barzakh, the life of the grave, followed by the day of Qiyamah and resurrection. We need to think about those stages and phases of life to come too, because they are in reality eternal without end. Allah Ta'ala has described the fleeting enjoyment of this dunya in such an order that the parable and the example given in the ayah that follows is natural. كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ ثُمَّ يَهِيجُ فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا. All this is like rain, the growth of which attracts the farmers, then it withers, and you see it turning yellow, then it becomes straw. Now we can have a long discussion, but in short, this parable means that in the wake of rain, vegetation of all sorts grows. It pleases the farmers, especially the kuffar, but the vegetation soon turns yellow in colour after being fresh and green, and after that, the green fades away, and it becomes scattered bits of dust, scattered particles of dust. This is the example of mankind in this dunya, in this life. They are young and strong in the beginning. In this stage of life, they look youthful and handsome. Then gradually the old age overcomes them, which does away with all their beauty and freshness until they die and they become dust. This parable indicates the end of this life. But in contrast, the akhirah is definitely coming, the significance of which is given in the rest of the ayah. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ. And in the hereafter, there's a severe punishment. There's a severe punishment for the kuffar. وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ. And forgiveness from Allah and Allah's pleasure for the Ahlul Iman and the righteous. In the akhirah, people will most definitely have to face one of two things: severe punishment and adhab for those without Iman, and forgiveness from Allah, His mercy and His good pleasure for the Ahlul Iman and righteous. Adhab and punishment has been mentioned here first because the preceding ayah mentioned the behavior of those who lack Iman and are over-absorbed in dunyawi pleasures, the outcome of which is severe punishment. As for the Ahlul Iman, for the believers, there is number one, divine forgiveness, and number two, divine pleasure. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. The dunyawi life, the worldly life, is nothing but a material of delusion. This phrase very concisely states the reality of this dunya. Now, having seen and understood all that's been explained in this ayah about the temporary nature of this world, the sound-minded and intelligent people can only come to one conclusion. That is that the life of this dunya is a material of delusion. It's not that thing which is useful or benefit in difficult times. So after coming to know the reality of the worldly, dunyawi, mortal life and the punishment and the adhab of the akhirah, any reasonable being should not be over-involved in dunyawi pleasures and should be eager to obtain the bounties of the akhirah. Now the question arises that we are in the dunya and you're saying don't get overly involved in the dunya. What planet are you living on? My friends, this dunya is Darul Asbab. It's a place of means. Allah Ta'ala has created it such that we need to take the means. We have to earn our living. We have to go out and buy groceries from the shop or the supermarket. Then we have to cook it. We need to eat it. That's the way that Allah Ta'ala has designed us to live. But my friends, the means are never the goal. They should only be taken as means. You know, go down the road one day, go sit in the park, sit beside the pond and just watch the ducks. My Shaykh explained this to me some years ago, that Allah Ta'ala, He wants that we live in this dunya, but at the very same time, we stay away from this dunya. It's a very interesting phenomenon, because logically we can't comprehend it. Yani, how is it possible that you are in the water and you're not getting wet? But we understand this strange phenomenon when we see, for example, ducks. If you see ducks flying, they'll come and sit in the water, and subhanAllah, they'll get whatever they need to get, fish, food, they'll take a dip on a hot day, whatever, and then they fly back. It's a very interesting phenomenon if you observe them, because normally when something sits in the water, it soaks in the water. But with ducks, the wings, they're in the water, there's water all around them, and they may even go into the water, but Allah Ta'ala has made their feathers in a way that they dip into the water, but they don't absorb the water. So it's a possibility that you are in the water, but you don't get wet. Because the ducks don't actually get wet. As soon as they fly, they just shake the water off their wings. So this is what Allah Ta'ala wants from all of us. That we live in this dunya, we fulfill our worldly needs from the dunya, but at the very same time, we don't absorb the dunya. We are able to shake off the dunya when needed and connect with our higher purpose. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah defines this concept of disconnecting from the dunya. He says, "Az-zuhdu faragh al-qalbi min ad-dunya, la faragh al-yadayn minha." Zuhd, this concept of abstaining from the dunya, is that you free your heart from the dunya. The heart is cut off from the dunya, but not the hands. So this is something we need to bring into our hearts, that we live in the dunya, and in fact we ask Allah Ta'ala for the best of the dunya. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً, but also وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, that we also ask and we make an effort for the best of the akhirah and the hereafter as well. That when Allah Ta'ala gives us something good of the dunya, that we use it, but we don't put it into our heart. Don't take the means as the goal. This is the concept of zuhud, and this is part of our Islamic spirituality. May Allah Ta'ala grant us understanding and tawfiq of amal. May Allah Ta'ala save us from being over-absorbed in the dunya and taking the means as the goal. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.